Hi, in this series of demos, we'll have a look at some of the major features of the IndyKite platform. In the first demo, we'll look at the data and how it's represented on the platform. We'll look at the IndyKite graph. In a second demo, we'll look at how we can programmatically access this data from the graph and how it is protected out of the box. In a third demo, we'll look at how you can use and ingest unstructured data into the platform and what that reveals and how that can be useful. And in the final demo, we'll have a look at events and signals and how the IndyKite platform can generate them. So let's get started. So we'll first look at the data and the use case. The use case here is that of a big company. It's based on the real use case, but I've greatly simplified the data and obviously obfuscated the data. This use case here is probably a bank, or it could be a retailer, a big retailer. In any case, a big company that has B2B to C use cases, so complex data across multiple areas as well. They have users, customers, customer users, and this company also, this organization also uses SharePoint, and there's a number of documents and things in SharePoint that they'd like to make sense of and use even for RAG type of applications. So what does the data look like? Let's have a look. So first of all, this is the platform, and here I'm going to go first to the data profile. This reveals the general schema of the IndyKite graph, knowledge graph. It's also the ontology. Another way to look at it would be to represent one instance of every possible node and relationship in the database. So what you see here is a high-level view of the data of the graph that are currently loaded in here. Sorry for the zoom problem. So we have some users, and some of the users have a job code. This means that they are employees, but some of the users may be just customers. Some users here advise companies. These companies are actually, in my use case here, clients of my own company, if I'm the administrator here. Some of the job codes provide some kind of access to some apps that run in my environment. In here, I just have 5 apps, but obviously in a real production scenario, there may be hundreds of these. And on this side here, we also have a SharePoint site. And so we've loaded here some digital twins of the documents, and that highlights the relationships between the documents, the users, the AD groups, and the folders, and who has access to what within that SharePoint infrastructure. So we have the SharePoint area at subgraph here, and the company subgraph up there. And here's how they all relate through user or group, for example, or folder. So hopefully that makes sense. So now let's have a look at some data here. I will just query a particular document that showcases a lot of the functionality. So one way to look at it is to just make a little search. So here I'm going to search on external ID. External ID is the ID of the source of the document. In this particular, it's a document, but it doesn't have to be. So this one here showcases a few things. So first of all, this document is owned by a user, and the user has a job code which ties it. That's actually me as the user. As you can see, my name. I have this job code in this fictional company. I'm a financial advisor. Maybe I work for a bank. I'm a member of this group. This is actually an AD group. This is all the data and metadata that comes from Active Directory. As you can see, it comes from my Microsoft site. And I'm a member of this other group. It's called IndyKite. And I've created a couple of lists and now in SharePoint. And I also have a trust core. So a trust core is a feature of the platform. It's a feature that runs, that is scheduled to run and evaluates every node in the graph based on some dimensions. I mean, you can configure which nodes are not to run this on. So in this particular case, I've actually looked at a couple of dimensions. The origin is specified, so the source is SharePoint here, so we know that. So valid properties from the source, and the so that's the only thing, and it's 0.5 because I also configured freshness for this node. So in other words, this node has not been validated recently in the source in SharePoint. So it's maybe a bit old, maybe the data is stale, might need to be pushed again. So you get a final score of 0.5 here. So we have kind of midway confidence that this node is up to date. So these documents also, as you can see, this document here is the same as this other document. So we have another feature called entity matching, which also can run with a recurrence, and you can configure it to compare various types together. So here it identified two documents as being actually the same. What's interesting here is that this document was actually uploaded into the SharePoint site by another user. As you can see, this user is another one. So here it's Dave, whereas I uploaded the same document, looks like copies of the same. Maybe it's a company, I don't know, something or other, that we both got and uploaded in our own SharePoints. The interesting thing here, we'll get back to this later in a later demo, but you also have some classifications here. So that's another feature. So given this, we have a complete view of what the organization could look like. If we just look at the organizational subgraph here, we can deduce a lot of things based on just looking at this, who I'm advising, and etc. We can expand here the radius to get a bit more nodes if we wanted to. And let's see, but we reached the search limit. There's a search limit. So if we wanted to get a bit more precise here, we'd have to look at querying the IndyKite platform, which is the subject of our second video. So stick around.